The US government is struggling to convince American voters of their read on the shooting of Renee Good by ICE agents in Minneapolis last week. According to officials in the Trump administration, Good was a domestic terrorist who weaponized her car to try kill ICE agents in her neighborhood. And so their reasoning goes, she deserved to be killed by the free bullets fired at her face by a masked federal employee. But the more reasonable sections of the American press aren't buying it, and the administration is getting sick of their questions. White House spokesperson Karoline Leavitt was asked about Renee Good at a press briefing yesterday.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 US citizens were detained by ICE. And Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
So obviously this is a classic strategy of the Trump administration. They get asked a difficult question by a journalist and they say, you know, you're just biased, this is nonsense. And they hope that by polarizing the issue, they can shore up their base and show that the media is, you know, in one way or another out of touch. Unfortunately, though, for them, it doesn't seem like it is just sections of the media that aren't buying the government story. The American public aren't falling for it either. So a new poll finds that 52% of registered US voters think the killing of Renee was not justified. Amongst Democrats, that number rises to 92%, with 60% of independents agreeing. That's obviously very significant. 77% of Republicans think the killing was justified. 10% disagree. So a big majority think that it was outrageous. Those figures, of course, may also shift as new evidence comes to light. The New York Times has released new video analysis apparently countering the US President Donald Trump's claim that the agent who shot Renee Good, called Jonathan Ross, was deliberately run over. The analysis synchronizes multiple video sources, including the footage shot on Ross's phone during the killing, and some may find it upsetting.
As the SUV rolls forward, the agent unholsters his firearm. We see in his cell phone video at this moment the camera drifting off to the left. The agent is no longer focused on filming. It's at this point in the cell phone video where it first looks and sounds like the agent's getting knocked violently. On the other camera, we can see what's happening. Here is Agent Ross aiming his gun at Miss Good. And here is his outstretched arm leaning toward her vehicle, which is barely visible behind the Tahoe. His phone, which is gripped in his left hand, flips over when the agent's hand lands on the front of the vehicle. There's an audible thud when it hits. The camera rotates up towards the sky. Again, while it appears the agent's getting knocked over, we can see that's not the case from the other angle, which shows he's standing with his hand near the headlight, his torso and legs away from the vehicle. In the cell phone footage, the agent's face flashes on screen, then it goes black. The other angle shows us why. We can see the agent's foot sliding, his hand bracing against the SUV, and his arm getting pressed into his chest. It is impossible to determine if this is happening because of the SUV's movement or the icy asphalt, or more likely, both. And what's very unclear because of the limited quality and availability of footage is whether the agent's upper body gets swiped by the vehicle as his left foot slides back. This moment is when Agent Ross fires.
Really interesting. I mean, most people watching this, I mean, I definitely did, was watching that video over and over again to try and work out exactly what happened. I mean, from my perspective, it was immediately clear that he didn't need to fire those 3 bullets. I mean, especially because 2 of them went through the window. There was no way that he was in front of the vehicle when he shot 2 of the 3 bullets. It always seemed clear to me that, he hadn't been hit. He was running to see what had happened afterwards, and we're told that there was internal bleeding. So the story was obviously all nonsense. But yeah, I think useful analysis from the New York Times. Let's go back to a bit more of it.
We see the other agent pull back from the SUV. Both of them stumble, apparently slipping on the ice. This is also the moment many have said looks like Agent Ross getting run over. And it does when watched at full speed. But looking more closely, we can see in multiple angles that there's a visible gap between the vehicle and his legs, indicating his feet are positioned outside the SUV's path. The agent's left hand is still against the vehicle and gripping his phone. We see as he fires, it's recording the clouds and the trees overhead. It's not because the agent is knocked to the ground. The other angle shows he's still standing, continuing to maintain his grip on his phone and his gun, and we see a clear and growing gap between his body and the SUV as he fires a second shot and a third. None of the bullets have the effect of stopping the SUV, but they kill Renee Good. According to our analysis of audio from Agent Ross's cell phone video, this is his reaction.
Good.
I mean, the effing bitch, that was clear when that video was first released, which I think was, it was released because people thought it made him look good, which I suppose if you're of a certain mindset, it does, but I think for most right-thinking people, it doesn't. The killing of Renee Good sparked widespread protest across at least 29 of the US's 50 states. In Minneapolis, where 3,000 ICE agents have been deployed by the federal government, protests have gone on for days, and they only grew larger after a second person was shot in the leg by ICE agents on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, ICE agents in Minneapolis threw tear gas into a car with 6 children in it, including a 6-month-old baby. 3 of them were hospitalized. Minnesota state leaders have accused the ICE agents of escalating tensions, with many demonstrations involving serious clashes between the federal force and protesters, including storming crowds and firing tear gas. Those protests have led to this threat from the president. So he says, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And the Insurrection Act is a 19th century law that gives the president the power to send in the military to quell civil disobedience and carry out law enforcement duties. In other parts of the US, local law enforcement officials have urged ICE to stay away from their districts. This was Philadelphia Sheriff Rochelle Bilal speaking earlier this week.
Law enforcement professionals do not shoot at moving vehicles. I'm not saying fleeing, because she wasn't fleeing. She was getting out of the way. Law enforcement professionals do not stand in front of moving vehicles invoking an action that is illegal. No, we don't. And so we stand here today with all those who stand against the made-up, fake, what you can call ICE, professional law enforcement. I don't call them none of that. I call them made-up, fake, wannabe law enforcement. Because what they do is against not only legal law, but the moral law. If any of them want to come in this city and commit a crime, you will not be able to hide. Nobody will wish you off. You don't want this smoke, because we will bring it to you.
ICE agents are authorised by the federal government to stop, detain and arrest people they suspect of being in the US illegally. But they have no right to detain US citizens except in very limited cases, and no right to enter people's homes without a warrant. But an increasing number of reports suggest that they may be radically overstepping their legal powers. This is from France 24.
On Sunday, officers forced entry to this home, arresting a man. His wife showed journalists at the scene paperwork relating to his removal, a warrant signed by an immigration officer, a document that does not authorize agents to enter a private residence.
There's Egyptian ground. He has some charges. They say he has a order of removal. And they didn't even show us this stupid ass thing. This is what they gave me.
Protesters banged drums and blew whistles. Some were met with chemical spray.
I mean, it does seem, Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It does seem like this, you know, to say Trump has overstepped the mark is the understatement of the century, isn't it? But in the first Trump term, you know, the big controversy for a while was separating children on the border. That led the Democrats to end up, when Biden came into power, to have a much more liberal border policy, which maybe in the end backfired. But this now, you know, they're going after people in America, they're killing American citizens, and it does seem to be very unpopular. I mean, I suppose maybe Trump doesn't care. This is his second term. But where do you see this going?
I mean, nowhere good. There's like a huge irony to this, which I haven't actually seen anyone write about. But, you know, this is kind of Republicans' worst nightmare. Because Republicans have always defended the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, on the basis that the president might one day, or the federal government might one day, come for them with a militia, an armed militia, and not defend them. There might be this kind of war against the people, an armed war against the people, and therefore the Second Amendment, they say, is important because it allows the people to resist. Well, suddenly this is what's happening, or it looks like it's what's happening in many parts of the country, not least of all in Minneapolis, where, as you said, there are now 3,000 ICE agents who go around in groups, completely anonymous, masked, offered vast amounts of federal protection, swept away after killings like the one of Renee Good. Like, that guy just got taken to a federal facility and is still there, as far as I know, or at least he's not appeared. So this is not good, and it is the nightmare that Republicans have used time and time again in order to defend the Second Amendment. Now it's a nightmare that they seem to support. It's a nightmare that they support because there's a them and an us for them. For the Republicans, and the them for the Republicans are people who, you know, can be treated as badly and as gruesomely as they like, and they've got a president in the White House who's going to treat them as badly and gruesomely as they like. There's something sort of deeply sadistic about it, and it's not just, you know, people who are in the country illegally that are being treated in this way. I mean, as you say, Renee Good was killed. There have been other American citizens who've been forcibly detained. Native Americans who are regularly taken to be illegal aliens by, in a huge irony, in fact, regularly taken to be illegal aliens by ICE forces, arrested, detained, thrown on the ground, beaten, and whatever. You know, none of this is a good look. But as we saw from that poll, Republicans, you know, in general, support this vociferously, and they support at 77% the shooting of a US citizen who was in fact exercising her free speech rights and, according to her attorney, her rights of assembly when she was in that car, sort of, you know, haranguing ICE agents, but nothing more than that. And it doesn't stop, also, I should say, with like the treatment of illegal migrants in the US. Also, the treatment of Renee Good after her death has been appalling, because I don't know if you've read the smears that were sort of spread about her, that, you know, her partner, her other children have been taken away. Her partner was involved in burning the child they had together with cigarette butts and so on and so forth. Just another person, but allowed to spread and, you know, to tarnish the record of this person who was killed by this militia. At the moment, her wife is, you know, they're trying to build up a federal investigation against her wife in order to somehow make her the guilty party in what happened, rather than this untrained, pretty uncontrolled, hugely protected militia that is roving, especially in Minneapolis at the moment, but around large parts of the other country as well. It's it's not going anywhere good, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there was lots of gross. I remember seeing it sort of immediately afterwards, sort of Fox News hosts and Republican politicians saying, describing her as a lesbian mother who's XYZ, sort of like really implying that she's not one of us. So it's fine, she's been shot.
Fair
essentially.
game, yeah.
Yeah.